And now for the Caverly Awards. In 1984, the BEF created the Ernest R. Caverly Award to recognize Brookline educators who have made outstanding contributions to excellence in education. The award is named after Dr. Caverly, a distinguished public school leader, educator, and Brookline School Superintendent. Each year, the BEF asks educators in Brookline to nominate fellow colleagues for the award. We then convene a committee, which I was honored to be a part of this year. Our committee is composed of BEF board members and prior Caverly Award winners who consider the wonderfully descriptive and inspiring letters submitted in support of each nominee by colleagues, parents, and former students. We at the Brookline Education Foundation are delighted to announce this year's Caverly Award winners. Sara O'Shea is a middle school English teacher at Heath. Since 2009, when she began as a paraprofessional at the Lincoln School, Sara has stood out as a beacon of warmth, kindness, and inclusivity. When she joined the Heath School as an English language arts and social studies teacher, she quickly became a collaborator with her colleagues and a trusted adult for many students. A middle school teacher with high standards for herself, her students, and her colleagues, and a faculty leader for Heath's Gender and Sexuality Alliance, as well as an excellent all-around educator, the BEF is so proud to give this award to Sara O'Shea. It's my pleasure to introduce Asa Sevelius, the principal of the Heath School, who will tell us about Sara.
Thank you to the BEF. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, of course, to Sara and her excellent practice. I love this evening, not only because we get to celebrate, the good work that we're doing, but it just feels like we're reaping all these benefits, like this financial downpour of goodness coming into our communities. So I'm really excited to see how we use the money. But to Sara. Today I do stand here to celebrate Sara O'Shea, the middle school ELA teacher at the Heath School, for this amazing award in excellence in teaching. During my tenure in the public schools of Brookline, this is my 9th year, Miss O'Shea has consistently provided a warm fellowship for me through her wit, compassionate practice, and just that overall sense of warmth I think you're going to hear a lot about tonight. For me, there is a real kinship with Sara. I admire and commend her thoughtful, innovative, compelling practices and see her in my own core beliefs. Her behaviors, I feel, in my own core beliefs. And I feel those behaviors and core beliefs are activated in a very real way on behalf of students. After 9 years, I'm still struck by Miss O'Shea's joyful practice, the absolute faith she has in her students, and the agency everyone in the classroom seems to have, adults and students alike, and the deeply engaging learning opportunities on offer, even after 9 years of seeing her in action. Every time I get to revel a bit in what's happening in that classroom. No matter when I visit, I am really overwhelmed again by the complicated, joyful, safe, rigorous, talented, inviting, cool, authentic, connecting, and affirming opportunities. The joy of literature is matched by the myriad opportunities to grapple with language, perspective, and societal complexities. And Sara does not shy away from these things. Miss O'Shea is doing something really exciting in her classroom, and the kids are right there with her. No matter how hard the work, no matter how hard the ask, no matter how rich and difficult and complex the task, the kids are right there with her. As discussed already, Sara also facilitates our GSA, and she has since its conception in 2015. We were the second K-8 school to launch our GSA in the public schools of Brookline. Driscoll was the first. But once news of the Driscoll launch happened, Sara showed up and leaned in my doorframe and she said, I want to do this too. I'm ready, I'm going to do this. And she volunteered in that moment to lead the launch, and she's stuck with it all these years. Miss O'Shea isn't a teacher first and then the GSA advisor second. The two roles feed each other simultaneously and seamlessly. her stewardship of the program, and careful ways that she privileges the LGBTQ students in our community during the GSA meetings as well as in classes add a very particular depth of love and courage many do not attribute to the middle school experience. There is, in fact, a cliche in the queer community that the English teacher is the first safe person a young queer person knows, and that English teacher serves as a guardian angel for closeted youth. Is it because the English teacher is the bringer of books and the opener of perspectives? Could it be that the classroom of the English teacher is where you can eat your lunch if the chaos of the cafeteria is too much to bear? Is it the theatrical readings of Shakespearean dramas about forbidden love? Is it the ability to see beyond the present moment and claw in messages of love and hope beyond the emotionally fraught cacophony of the middle school experience? Is it perhaps all of those things? Is Sara O'Shea simply the embodiment of the age-old tradition of the English teachers loving children exactly as they are right now and for no other reason than they deserve love? Maybe. Only each child can tell that story of that very real and very personal connection. What I do know is that inherent in Sara's practice is the very real potential for such goodness and compassion and care, and that she seems to be actively tapping into that potential every time she shows up at school. And when all is said and done, that is enough. So I congratulate Sara and thank you all very much.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Sevelius, Asa. That was really beautiful. So, I didn't expect to be awarded the Caverly, and I certainly didn't expect the BEF and the superintendent and my principal and my colleagues to come parading into my room to film it while I was dressed as a pig. But that is just exactly how my life seems to go. I have one vision, and something very wacky happens instead. But fortunately, my mom always modeled and instilled in me the ability to laugh at myself when these ridiculous things happen. This helps me every day in my classroom. I laugh daily at my mistakes and myself, where I like to think that I model imperfection and vulnerability in hopes of making my students feel like they can also do the same. I've always been a bit of a performer. I've never imagined I would become an English teacher. Little did I know how much my theater experience and training would serve me in school. From an early age, I had my sights set on stardom. I aspired to be a Broadway actress. And when I was 6 years old, I imagined myself being the epitome of famous, being invited to host an episode of The Muppet Show. And with my own duet with Kermit the Frog. My family supported my dreams and had me enrolled in a local drama club, and I loved it. Did I ever get to be that starlet, though? No, not once. I was big, awkward, and loud, and so rather than being cast as that dainty, demure, feminine character, I was always cast as the loud, assertive one. Beauty and the Beast, I was the Beast. And Christmas Carol, Scrooge. You get the idea. My Hollywood aspirations aside, though, school had always felt like a safe place for me. Without saying too much on the subject, some aspects of my childhood were really challenging. But I had great role models and adults always looking out for me. School was my safe place. And like any theatrical performance, the backstage chaos of home was hidden behind the curtain. And for 8 hours of the day, I had so many positive and supported teachers giving me opportunities to thrive and perform. Do I remember those lessons? Absolutely not. But what I remember were those novel opportunities that my teachers provided. It started with Miss Conley in 3rd grade, giving me time to perform a weekly paper bag puppet show for my class. And in 5th grade, Mr. Golly choreographed a blacklight dance to King Tut, the Steve Martin classic. And in 6th grade, my favorite place to be, I had the crankiest of teachers, Miss McDevitt. and she was a near-retirement battle axe of a nun. She was a former nun, but she loved theater. So we put on a play for every history unit. For the last month of school, it took very little convincing on my part to convince her that I could write, cast, and run rehearsals for her favorite musical if you just give me the time. And so we put on The Sound of Music that spring. And as a teacher, these experiences truly filled my soul, my sails and built my confidence and kept me connected, even though it was a difficult time for me. And as a teacher now, I realize that so many of us here in this room and in our classrooms, we're always on the lookout for those kids who need a little extra care to get them through the day. These opportunities that I were given were not coincidental, but very intentional, and that's my mission each day. I want to make it fun, and I want to make it memorable. High school was much the same for me. I tried to keep up the role of good student, and everything is fine by throwing myself into all my opportunities. Looking back, though, I realized that my teachers all co-conspired to personally invite me in and keep me busy and away from some of the negative influences of my falling apart friendships. I had a very painful friend breakup due to her substance abuse, and it was the same year that I was personally invited to join the literary magazine with Miss Boyle. I had show choir and drama rehearsal 3 days a week after school with Mr. Shannon, and my guidance counselor, Miss Amaral, would just always coincidentally bump into me in the hallway and invite me to go into her office for some quiet time before PE class. And it's now that I understand and see that all of these compassionate educators in my high school were so connected to each other and all looking out for me. They were all making sure I had as many positive opportunities as possible. So it is in their honor that I try to personally invite any kid I can to come to room 199, especially on GSA days, which was today. After high school, with my sights still set on making life as an actress and a wave of supporters behind me, I was accepted to Emerson College's acting program. And to cut to the chase, after my first semester, I quickly realized I was not cut out for that. I was not competitive enough. I was not thick-skinned enough. I took things very personally. But I did have a professor, Bethany Nelson, and on the first day of class, she memorized 60 of our names and made sure to use them frequently and every time she saw us. It's very hard to stand out in a group of theater kids. But she made such an effort to see and know us, because there was this one day I was walking across the Boston Common, saw her coming, didn't think she'd recognize me. She stopped and said, "Sarah, I've been hoping to run into you. I have this book. I've been waiting for you." And she handed me this yellow softcover book about feminism in theater. I felt seen, I felt remembered, and after a stretch of feeling quite invisible. She taught theater ed, and so I decided I wanted more of that. And that next semester, I sought out more of her classes, and I quickly found my people. They were kind, empathetic, wholly goofy, just like the Muppets. So I shifted my focus from performance to education. And what did I love about theater anyway? It was connecting, storytelling, empathizing, and experiencing something with people. I'm so grateful for Bethany Nelson and Bob Colby for helping me find those people. So after a few twists and turns out of college, I found myself directing Less and More, and my friend and fellow drama camp counselor, Beth Greenwood from Lincoln School, former Caverly Award winner, invited me to come work with her as a para at her school, and it was there that I saw general ed in a whole new light. I was working closely with kiddos that would never volunteer in a million years to jump on stage, but I found myself pulling all kinds of stunts and performances to engage with them and make our day as fun as possible. At Lincoln, I received the best training to be a teacher by observing and working closely with Beth Greenwood and Suzanne Howard in 3rd grade, Katie Flynn in 4th grade. I had some of my most challenging and greatest opportunities to learn behavior management in Caitlin Rogers Learning Center. It was called the ILP then. There were days I was called a stinky poo-poo face in a music room of 3rd graders. I quickly had to learn how to dodge bingo chips being hurled at my head while calling out numbers. But the show had to go on. I learned to keep my pride out of it and do whatever it took to help us get through the day. And these were incredibly formative years for me. I got to see adults whom I truly respect model such compassion and care for their students. And I got really lucky, and I was able to complete my student teaching for my graduate program while I was a para there, because of all the adults behind the scenes who helped me make it happen. And now, unbelievably, to me, it's been 10 years at Heath, and time has flown by. I find great stability and reward in what I do, and I'm so fortunate to be part of such a great ensemble. Thank you for being here. I consider many of my colleagues dear friends that have seen me through many dramas of my life inside and outside of school. I haven't stepped on stage as an actor in years. However, the adrenaline I got from rehearsing, performing, and directing translates quite perfectly to my classroom. There are infinite opportunities for me and my students to workshop, practice, get better every day. And at this point in my career, I have even less shame and fear of embarrassment. And I will go to great lengths to openly fail, laugh at myself, and try again in class, in hopes that my students also feel the same. Just like my most memorable teachers did for me, I try to make my lessons just as playful and light as possible. I don't think my students will remember that lesson on introductions and conclusions, but I do hope they will remember my screaming Latka read aloud, where I scream at the top of my lungs at them. The stories I share about bubbles and morgue water, or the time that the escaped hedgehog lived under my classroom bookshelves for 2 weeks, or dressing up as a book character for a classroom dinner party, which is how I ended up receiving the honor, dressed as a pig. And I hope my students and colleagues feel safe, seen, and joyful in room 199. Did I become that demure starlet singing with Kermit the Frog I envisioned at 6 years old? Well, not exactly. I have no shame. But just like Miss Piggy herself, I contain multitudes. I'm imperfectly entertaining, unconventionally fabulous, and I'm from humble beginnings. I'm looking forward to growing my cast of Muppets for many more seasons, and thank you to my Heath family for the nominations, and to the BEF for supporting amazing opportunities for us and our students. So, thank you.